Good morning. Good morning. My goodness. Where do I begin? Every time I come and join you all, wherever you might be, there's just so much going on. And I just want to thank you for joining again. This is Race and Cultures, Bridging the Divides. And I'm Reverend Dr. Barry Staples. And I just am so glad to be here. I want you to please like and subscribe to this channel. And if you want more information about race and cultures, bridging the divide, you can go to this website, the same name, Race and Cultures, Bridging the Divides.com. Race and Cultures, Bridging the Divides.com. I'm just so happy that we are all here today. And it's just very interesting that we are in a trying time, so to speak, a trying time that so much is going on. And every time I wake up, I think about this whole concept of race, how it hits us every single day, no matter what is going on. You see um, all sorts of people. We just had um, a in Michigan, a guy decided to attack a synagogue. A lot of things have happened since this quote war attacking Iran. Now I'll get into that in a second. But every time this particular person that I call the convicted felon in chief that sits on Pennsylvania Avenue in DC at our Capitol and a White House that was built by the hands and the sweat and tears of slaves. And this person does what he wants to do. And I'm going to play this clip continuously until people begin to understand what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with, folks.
Announcing the commencement of the
Well, let me get that out of here. I'll get back to that. Let me get back to this here. Here, this is
What
what
the
we're
hell
dealing
is
with.
going on? See, we have to let the police do their job.
I'll start it all over.
warning, announcing the commencement of the annual purge.
What the hell is going on?
This is what
See,
he
we
wants to
have to
do,
let the police do
purge
their job. And
everything.
if they have to be extraordinarily rough,
Rough, violent,
the police want to do it. The Border Patrol wants to do it.
ICE, our
You know, if
military.
you had one day, like one real rough, nasty day with the drugstores as an example.
What does that mean?
Now, if you had one really violent day,
At the siren, all crime will be legal for 12 hours.
one rough hour, and I mean real rough,
This is what he wants to do is
we'll get
purge
out and it will end
the world
immediately.
in this country with his
I
partner.
purged to keep my country great.
And that's the okey doke people are being fed. That if he does all these things continuously, that we will have a great country. I can blow up ships in um, Venezuela, allegedly carrying boats, and drugs on those boats. No drugs have ever been shown as evidence that there were drugs on those boats. We do know that people have filed complaints because their family member was out fishing or that type of thing, and it's terrible. So what does it all mean? You know, as a preacher, they always say, "Well, what does it all mean?" I always say, "Good question. I'm glad you asked." This is what this is all about. This war in Iran, this whole war going on. I'm going to show you a legal document um, that I want you to all take note of. And I'll just go back to the beginning to let you know that this is legal. This is what this is all about. You see here, the defendant, or the plaintiff, that is, Katie Johnson, lived in, address was California, but all of a sudden this took place in Florida. So this young girl gone across the state. Jurisdiction is pursuant to the law. Plaintiff resides in the state of California, while defendants reside in the state of New York, New York, and the action is for damage above $75,000. plaintiff Katie Johnson for causes of action against defendants Donald J. Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, alleges as follows. The venue is established as the Eastern Division of the United States Central District of California because the plaintiff resides in San Bernardino County, state of California. I'm only going to go to part of this. I want so people can understand why this is happening, why he's doing everything. It is a distraction, but this is probably the biggest distraction. And if people have a conscience and care for children, this should resonate in your heart and your soul and bring it up to your mind and have some cognitive processing, some critical thinking to try to wrap your moral instincts around why we should be concerned about this with someone sitting at the highest office in this country, holding the greatest office we had once been heralded as around the world. The parties, the plaintiff, Katie Johnson, resides in the state of California. Defendants, Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and reside in the state of New York. I typically don't pronounce his name because it hurts me to the core. This is a factual allegations. Factual allegations. Now, you keep in mind, I'm not going to go through that, but this young lady was talked to by the FBI 4 different times. And they only do that when they know they have a case. But here, listen to this. The plaintiff, Katie Johnson, alleges that the defendants, Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, did willfully and with extreme malice violate her civil rights by sexually and physically abusing plaintiff Johnson by forcing her to engage in various perverted and depraved sex acts by threatening physical harm to plaintiff Johnson and also her family. That is very important. Typically, when people do this kind of thing, and I can just tell you from experiences that I know this is true, that they will threaten to kill your mother, your grandmother, your auntie, anybody that is within your family. The plaintiff, Katie Johnson, alleges that the defendants, Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey E. Epstein, also did willfully and with extreme malice violate her civil rights by conspiring to deny plaintiff Johnson her civil rights by making her their sex slave. The plaintiff, Katie Johnson, alleges she was subject to extreme sexual and physical abuse by the defendants, Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, including forcible rape during a 4-month time span covered in months of June to September 1994, when plaintiff Johnson was still only a minor of age 13. The plaintiff, Katie Johnson, alleged she was enticed by promises of money and a modeling career to attend a series of underage sex parties held at the New York City residence of defendant Jeffrey E. Epstein, attended by defendant Donald J. Trump. This is the 9th area. On the first occasion involving the defendant Donald J. Trump, the plaintiff, Katie Johnson, was forced to manually stimulate defendant Trump with the use of her hand upon defendant Trump's erect penis until he reached sexual orgasm. The 10th area. On the second occasion involving the defendant Donald J. Trump, the plaintiff, Katie Johnson, was forced to orally copulate defendant Trump by placing her mouth upon defendant Trump's erect penis until he reached sexual orgasm. On the third occasion involving the defendant Donald J. Trump, the plaintiff, Katie Johnson, was forced to engage in an unnatural lesbian act with her fellow minor and sex slave Maria Doe, age 12, my goodness, for the sexual enjoyment of defendant Trump. After this sex act, both minors were forced to orally copulate defendant Trump by placing their mouths simultaneously on his erect penis until he achieved sexual orgasm. After zipping up his pants, defendant Trump physically pushed both minors away while angrily berating them for the, quote, poor, unquote, quality of their sexual performance. On the fourth and final sexual encounter with the defendant, Donald J. Trump, the plaintiff, Katie Johnson, was tied to a bed by defendant Trump, who then proceeded to forcibly rape plaintiff Johnson. During the course of this savage sexual assault, plaintiff Johnson loudly pleaded with defendant Trump to, quote, please wear a condom. Defendant Trump responded by violently striking plaintiff Johnson in the face with his open hand and screaming that, quote, he would do whatever he wanted. And that's, you can see that it's not changed, as he refused to wear protection. After achieving sexual orgasm, the defendant, Donald J. Trump, put his suit back on when the plaintiff, Katie Johnson, in tears, asked defendant Trump what would happen if he had impregnated her. Defendant Trump grabbed his wallet and threw some money at her and screamed that she should use the money, quote, to get a fucking abortion. Excuse my language here. That's what it says. Praise, help me, Lord. On the first occasion involving that's in a nutshell. That's him. The next one deals with Epstein. We can't really, he's not the issue here right now in terms of that activity because he's supposed to be dead. So, and this is interesting, this last part I want to just share. Okay, there's a material witness here. Tiffany Doe, a former trusted employee of the defendant Jeffrey E. Epstein, has agreed to provide sworn testimony in this civil case in any future civil or criminal proceedings, fully verifying the authenticity of the claims of the plaintiff, Katie Johnson. So I just want to jump, cut across the field, jump to the real nexus of this whole thing. Material witness Tiffany Doe confirms all the plaintiff Katie Johnson's allegations of physical and sexual abuse by defendant Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Tiffany Doe was physically present at each of the 4 occasions of sexual abuse by defendant Trump upon the person of plaintiff Johnson, as it was her job to witness all of the sexual escapades of defendant Epstein's guests as their underage sex parties at their underage sex parties, and later reveal all of the sordid detail directly to defendant Epstein. What a freak. This is sick. And this is the last part. Material witness Tiffany Doe would testify that she was also present or had direct knowledge of each of the 3 instances on which defendant Jeffrey Epstein physically and sexually abused the plaintiff, Katie Johnson. So you see, 4 by him, convicted felon chief in the White House, and 3 by allegedly deceased, murdered Jeffrey Epstein. So this is the claims for relief. The plaintiff, Katie Johnson, asked the court for relief against the defendants, Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, in the amount of $1 million. Is that 100 million or a million? 1, 2, 3. $1 million, $1 million as a result of the defendants' aforementioned acts, upon which they willfully and maliciously violated the civil rights of this young lady. This was dated April 26, 2016, and you can see Katie signed that. So this is what all this distraction is about: bombing ships in Venezuela, doing all those kinds of things. We have this. So who is Katie Johnson? This is a picture of Katie as a young girl. This is her. Innocent. I mean, my God, it's just really, it's so disgusting. How can you do this to a child? How can you? I just, it took me a long time to want to even talk about this, but I just wanted to let you all know that I do care about what's going on. I just had a hard time getting into this with people because it's so heart-wrenching to me. And if anyone has, like I said, a heart or a soul, your heart and soul should be pressed toward the Lord. The word of God says to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love thy neighbors, you love thyself. I'll always be a preacher, no matter what context or what environment I'm in. But I want to just share with you what this really gets down to. What really gets down to is this. I preach a sermon in the Bible. We've talked about these are the 7 deadly sins: lust, gluttony, sloth, greed, envy, wrath, and pride. I'm going to talk to you about what is called an acrostic presentation. An acrostic presentation is simply if you have say, for example, when I preach, I use a phrase, Bible, basic instruction before leaving earth. That's an acrostic presentation. But I just want to focus on this concept of greed. You saw the beginning aspect of the purge. That's greed, part of greed. I can do whatever I want, as he told Katie Johnson when she told him to wear a condom. He can do whatever he wants. This kind of behavior has never changed. I can stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and nothing will ever happen to me. That's what he told people. And guess what? He is shooting and murdering this country right now, in the world, our allies, and we get gaslit all the time. Well, we're the greatest. We got the great economy. Gas prices. Oh, they're not bad. Well, he never been shopping in his life. You know, my good groceries, gas. But the acrostic perspective. Let's stick with the concept of greed. The G stands for grasping for more. In Proverbs 15:27 says, greed brings grief to the whole family, but those who hate bribes will live. Greed, as he always wants more and more and more. Mary Trump's book talks about having more but never enough. You should read that book, Mary Trump's book. That's his niece. And greed brings grief to the whole family. We are the family here in the United States. We are all grieving right now because he wants more for himself. R stands for root of evil. 1 Timothy 6:10 says, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and some people craving money have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. Can he be really that sorrowful? Is he really all that happy deep inside? But we know one thing, part of his greed is the root of evil. It's for the money. What's that song? For the love of money. They do anything for it. E stands for excessive desire for wealth. Luke 12:15 says, then he said, if you want to know, I'm getting these from the 66 canonized books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, Samuel, First Samuel, First Kings, Second Kings, First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, goes on and on and on. Then New Testament. Okay, we're in the New Testament here. And then the second E stands for excessive desires for wealth. Then he said, in Luke 12:15, then he said, beware, guard against every kind of greed. Life is not measured for how much you own. Heaven and hell can pass away. That's excessive desire for wealth, no matter what. This man family has made over $2 billion since he's been in office. I'm sure there's some emoluments clauses being violated all the time under his presidency, but nothing ever happens. Just like the purge, he can do whatever he wants. The second E, endangerment of the soul. Mark 8:36. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? I talked about last time that this man has even made the comment, he knows he's not going to heaven. In other words, his soul is lost. He's already said it, so he's going to keep doing what he wants. Endangerment of the soul. And finally, D stands for the destructive to contentment. Hebrews 13. Don't love money. Be satisfied with what you have. For God has said, I will never fail you. I will never abandon you. Other versions say, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So that's That's the whole thing about greed. That's an acrostic presentation. I want you all to understand that we have to do better than what we're going through right now. So so what is happening here? So we have his family right here, and he's profiting, as was saying too. And this is according to Michael Wolff. President Donald Trump's motivations for the ongoing war and also its distraction with Iran are driven more by personal business interests than traditional geopolitical military consideration. Wolf argues that uh, Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, has become the de facto chief foreign policy advisor, leveraging relationships with Persian Gulf states to pursue financial deals and opportunities to benefit the Trump family rather than the broader U.S. strategic interests. Why it matters. Wolf's analysis suggests a troubling dynamic where the most consequential foreign policy decisions are being made not by seasoned diplomats and national security experts, but the president's own family members pursuing their own financial interests. This raises serious questions about the integrity of the policymaking process and whether the country's interests are being put first. They selling us okie doke. I said all along, we're all being gaslit. These are the details. Wood claims that Kushner, acting as Trump's personal representative rather than a government official, now controls the administration's Middle East portfolio, along with Trump's golf and investment buddy Steve Witkoff. The goal, according to Witkoff, is to leverage the region's wealth and oil resources to benefit the Trump family financially with little regard for broader strategic considerations. Wolf also notes Trump's apparent anti-Semitic remark that, quote, Jared can really work with the Arabs. They like Jews to handle the money. By race and cultures. This is what I'm talking about. These are the people involved, the players. Donald Trump, President of the United States, who launched a war with Iran with his personal business interests reportedly driving the decision-making process. Jared Kushner is the other player. His son-in-law, who has emerged as the de facto foreign policy making. All that. Then Steve Witkoff, Trump's golf and investment buddy, also along with Kushner, now controls the administration's Middle East portfolio. So this is what we're dealing with, folks. We're dealing with just a bad situation where this man is doing whatever he wants, anytime he wants. And so his family is he's profiting from all this. So what about his family? So oh, never mind. We just went through that. So his family is benefiting from all of this, no matter what. So what do we have to do to deal with this? Well, first of all, we need to try to process the lies that have been going on. What are the lies that have been going on? These are the lies that we have been told by this man over and over again. Since returning to White House in January 2025, he has continued to make numerous false, misleading statements on a wide range of topics, including the economy, immigration, foreign policy, and public health. The volume of severity of these claims led PolitiFact editors to label 2025, quote, the year of the lies. First area, economy and inflation. Investment figures. Trump repeatedly claimed to have secured 17 trillion or 18 trillion investments in the U.S. in 2025, while the White House own website listed a much lower and still inflated figure of 9.6 trillion. This is the same areas of fraud that he did by inflating and deflating property values in New York that led to his 34 convictions becoming a felony that's in the White House by manipulating numbers to get loans and to not have to file taxes and only paying $763 in income tax. I think that was his last year. He's never wanted to release his income tax to us, like every president has done. Now he's trying to sue this one guy that did release him. He got him and found him. It's just a bunch of crazy stuff. He also price levels. He repeatedly asserted that there were no inflation, that every price is down, including claims that egg prices dropped by over 80%, all of which was demonstrably false based on consumer price index data. Another thing, gasoline prices he's talked about. He falsely claimed in April 2025 that gasoline was under $2.50 a gallon in much of the country, was under $1.98 in some states. He actually made that statement in 2026 too. In some states, the national average at the time was significantly higher. Tariffs. Trump clung to the false assertion that foreign countries pay the U.S. tariffs, not American importers and consumers. That is a tax on us. That's why things are so high. And I know his thinking is nuts. We pay for those higher prices. The consumer does. Job statistics. After the Bureau of Labor Statistics released a weak jobs report in August 2025, Trump fired the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner, and claimed the numbers were rigged and a scam. He doesn't want us to know that he's messed up. There's no jobs he's created. No, Biden created I think 3.4 million jobs. He's only created 110,000, So immigration and crime, foreign criminals. Trump has repeatedly claimed without evidence that numerous foreign countries are intentionally emptying their prisons and mental institutions to send their most undesirable people into the U.S. as migrants. He said that all about Venezuela and everybody else, which is not true. Public safety. He falsely claimed that Washington, D.C. had not had a single murder in 6 months and that the city of Portland was burning down, which was contradicted by police statistics and media reports. Remember the term gaslighting. It's happening continuously. Then border security. He falsely claimed U.S. had the most secure border during his first term, when in reality, illegal immigration levels were higher than during Obama's terms. Also, foreign policy and war. In the Ukraine war, he falsely claimed that Ukraine started Russia's war and that the U.S. provided significantly more aid than Europe, both of which are incorrect. He also claimed his promise to end the war in 24 hours was made in jest. We all heard him. In 24 hours, the war will be over. Wars ended. Trump falsely claimed to have ended 7 or 8 raging wars, listing conflicts that were either not wars, ongoing diplomatic disputes, or had resumed. He hasn't ended anything. That's what his push was for the Nobel Peace Prize. And finally, this is really sad. Public health and other claims. Vaccines. In December 2025, he made the false claims that young children receive a vat of 80 different vaccines all at once. False. Tylenol and autism. And this is also being led by, the Kennedy name gone to hell in the handbasket, Robert Kennedy Jr. My God. Tylenol and autism. The White House website under his administration listed it as a fact that Tylenol use during pregnancy is linked to autism, a claim widely debunked by health groups and medical professionals. Robert Kennedy Jr. he's not an MD or anything reputable, I guess. 2020 election. He continued to relentlessly push the false narrative that the 2020 election was rigged and stolen. The states control the election. That's why he's pushing to have elections federalized. He goes into Fulton County, which was illegal, gets ballots. He was interested in paper ballots. The reason he wants to do that, he wants to go in and change the votes. He called up the Rassenberger, this might not be saying the same right. He wanted to get 11,780 whatever votes. to make it up. Project 2025. While campaigning, he lied about now knowing anything about Project 25, a conservative plan to reshape the federal government. Later, indicated full awareness of its strategy. His name is in there over 317 times. 930 some page document. I have it. It's long, it's tedious, but it's all about overthrowing the United States. It's another look at another version of The Handmaid's Tale. Canada annexation. Following his proposal to annex Canada, Trump claimed the idea was popular among Canadians, however, showed approximately 9 in 10 Canadians opposed to the idea. Then the Jeffrey Epstein files that I just showed you part of. Then election integrity. Trump has continued to claim the 2020 election was rigged, and stolen. That's all been debunked and proven false. Nothing was stolen. I just wanted to share this with everybody today because it is so significant to me. But what really makes me happy is the title of this episode is personal, folks, when dealing with him. It's personal because I have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And something happening to them would bother me. A few weeks ago and then last week, we had the service of someone that was very significant to me. This is what keeps me going. I have some people that really help me have a conviction, a moral consciousness for this country and for people. And this is where it all started with these men here. Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend C.T. Vivian, Mr. John Lewis. I knew Jesse through my involvement with Operation Breadbasket in Chicago. Is also where I met Reverend C.T. Vivian. They both knew my family, and I didn't ever meet Mr. John Lewis, but I know CT would mention him to me. And ironically and sadly, John Lewis and CT both died on the same day in Atlanta, Georgia. In 1963, they both went to jail for their protests. I think it was in Montgomery, Alabama. I think it was in Alabama, but in that's July 17th, which is also my wedding date. They are forever in my heart. But Jesse always talked, we talked about those 7 deadly sins. Jesse always talked about you can do whatever you want. Just stay strong and keep the faith for the higher calling. Keep running the race, basically. That's, what Paul said as he was coming to his end. But this is what keeps me focused on dealing with this situation of race and cultures is my history of having those men connected to me. Another person that helped me along the way with this man here. And this is how he looked when I first met him up here. Stokely Carmichael, who became known as Kwame Ture. He was married to Myra Makeba. I met Stokely. I was a freshman in college, and I was part of the Black Student Union. We had him come in, and I walked up to the table, and I looked at him. I said, "How you doing, Mr.?" I think he was still Carmichael then, and he reached his hand out to shake my hand. As he reached out to shake my hand, I had my books in my hand. So he had me put the books to the side, and I was shaking his hand. Then he took his other hand and he kept pushing my fingers back till it became a fist. Then he raised up my hand, and he said, "With that, you think you can conquer the world." Then he took my left hand and he placed it on my books. And he said, "But brother, with those, you can own the world." That was my relationship with Mr. Carmichael. Now, Kwame Ture. And then years later, I was a professor at institution, and my friend was putting on the event. It was doing, I think, Black History Month. I was a professor at this school, and this is what he looked like then. This is his new appearance. He had looked like that. I can tell he wasn't well. This was actually like right before he passed. So my friend had me come up to the stage, and I walked down almost in the same exact kind of positioning. I walk up to him. This time I says, "Hello, Mr. Ray, you probably don't remember me." He looked at me with those eyes that were weak, and he said, "Yes." And he said, "At the name of the college where he had met me at." And I said, "Thank you, sir. You inspired me." And that inspiration has never left. And folks, this is what I'm talking about. This is what is not gaslighting. People in my life, Jesse Jackson, C.T. Vivian, they all gave me a sense of hope, a sense of understanding that no matter how bad it gets, through the sweet by and by, you can make it. Through the sweet by and by, you can make it. And I just say that these people all receive their motivation from this guy, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. We must keep remembering him. We must keep remembering him. In his 1963, quote, "I Have a Dream" speech, Martin Luther King Jr. famously stated that America had defaulted on its promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness by giving Black citizens a, quote, "bad check," which came back marked insufficient funds. Think about that. Getting a check. We're giving you the check to say you can have everything now. You have your freedom, you have everything. And it just isn't Black people now. It's what's happening to everybody. Everybody has been given this check in insufficient funds. Dr. King recognized that Black folk had always been held back the right to vote. Black women weren't supposed to vote until 1965. Think about it. So he proclaimed that the Bank of Justice was not bankrupt. It's time that we can have justice. There's more that can be done to give people justice. Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Dr. C.T. Vivian, they all knew that. They all knew that justice has been denied. Justice has been denied to all of us. So we have to push further. We have to push further. I wanted to talk about something else today, and I'll cover that next week. You know, my first part of my episode started with Caitlin Clark, and she's back on the court again, and I'm already seeing some things that race and culture is colliding toward this young lady. But let me close out to keep you reminded. You saw Katie Johnson's deposition. You heard what this man wants to do is create a purge in this country and all around the world. But this is what we must keep remembering. This is where the distraction comes from. Comes from this.
With Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18.
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Think about it. I won't make you all think about, remember what I've done.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Hear it again. Let it sink in, people.
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Shocking new details have emerged from the partial DOJ releases, documents and images from the Jeffrey Epstein investigations, revealing what many believe the Department of Justice and former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi tried to hide, including photos of Donald Trump in controversial situations with women. On December 19, 2025, the DOJ released thousands of documents and hundreds of images under the Epstein Files Transparency Act. But critics warn much of it is heavily redacted, and some of the most sensitive material has been withheld. Yet, despite these efforts, some photos seem to have slipped through the cracks, showing Trump in situations that raised questions and leaving many to wonder why the DOJ and Bondi may have moved to protect him from backlash. The release also includes images and materials linked
So I'm going to end it here, right there. Y'all get the point. There's a big cover up going on here. People are lying and scheming, but I maintain, I go back, and what keeps me focused are these people. All these people keep me focused and let me know that one day we'll get over. That's what it's all about with me. I'm going to keep my eye on the prize. Next time we get together, we'll talk a little WNBA. I love that. I watch more WNBA than I do NBA. A lot of it because of my personal experiences and connection with the coaches that Caitlin had during her career at Iowa. They're good friends of mine. I love those ladies. They walk the walk and they talk the talk, and they preach and they taught kind of where I'm at. They have never had any negativity about any people, any group of people. Lisa, Jan, and Jenny are just incredible people. And also Jan's wife, Julie, she's always been very funny, comedian-like. I love all those ladies, but most importantly, I've always loved their heart and what they mean to basketball, what they mean to people, and they just personify goodness. So again, this is Racing Cultures, Bridging the Divides, and please feel free to go to the website, raceculturesbridgingdivides.com, and just like and subscribe to it. And you see a Scantron code up there. We're a nonprofit organization. Feel free to donate so we can, help others out. And I'm so glad that you joined me today. And I look forward to seeing you the next time when we get together. This has been a blast. I hope you have enjoyed what we're trying to do, and that is to bring people together to preach truth to power. Truth to power. Remember, greed is not the way to go. Greed is not the way to go. GREED. That's one of the deadly sins. I might even cover the other ones, but it's all biblically connected, folks. Remember, you stay strong, keep your eye on the prize, love your children, and God willing, we'll see each other next time. I try to get here once, twice a week. Sometimes things are a little slow because of, life is involved, You know how that goes. But God bless you all. God keep you and stay strong. I'm giving a special shout out to Jackie to get well and stay strong. Peace out.